Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Canned Air, your tribute to pop culture. I am Jeremy Colley, and my guest today is somebody I actually spoke with just over 2 years ago, back when we were only focusing on the audio format for the show. And as some of you guys know who watch us religiously, I've been going through some of our old folders, looking for videos, videos of the interviews we have already done, but never released. And this is one of them. And it was so cool to talk to this gentleman. He was a writer on Happy Days, The Jeffersons, Mork Mindy. He directed films like The Spy Next Door, Are We There Yet?, Snow Dogs, Beethoven, the Flintstones movie people, and the sequel, The Flintstones Viva Rock Vegas, and Jingle All The Way. Now, not only did he direct Jingle All The Way, he had major part, if not all part, in creation of Turbo Man. Which has become one of the most iconic Christmas toys ever, and, Jingle All the Way, one of the most iconic Christmas movies ever. But I welcome director, writer, and author Brian Levant to the show. And the reason Brian came on was not only to hang out and talk about his experience, being a director on all these awesome movies, writing on some iconic television shows, but to talk about his new book at the time, My Life and Toys. The book is all about his toy collection. He's a nationally recognized toy and pop culture collector. He's got one of the biggest collections of rare, hard-to-find toys and pop culture memorabilia from, like 50s, 60s, and 70s movies and cartoons, but not limited to. All kinds of stuff from Jingle All The Way, toys and props. His collection is amazing. My description here is not doing it justice. But the book, My Life and Toys, is a whole book that's dedicated to his toy collection. The photography in this book is amazing. And what makes this book even more amazing is that Brian goes into detail with some of these toys, talking about where they came from or what they mean to him, or, how it maybe reminded him of a time directing a film, for example. So it's a great book. Highly recommend you check it out. I'm going to have links in the description for you guys to get your own copy. Brian was so much fun, so amazing to talk to, and one of my favorite things he talked about was bringing William Hanna and Joseph Barbera to the set of the Flintstones movie, to see this cartoon they had created come to life. I thought that was a cool freaking story, and if memory serves me right, that might be one of those stories that comes right out of My Life in Toys. And Brian was kind enough, after we spoke, to send along a few cards here, both of which have the cover of his book, My Life in Toys, on them, and you can see there when you move, there's a slight animation going on. And he wrote a personalized message on the back of both. So I just was so excited to get these in the mail, and I want to thank him not only for being on the show, but for sending these cool things along. It was so awesome to get them. I'm so happy to have them. And I think that's all there is to say. I hope you guys enjoy my conversation with Brian Levant. Brian, thank you so much for taking time to be on the show today. It's an honor to talk to you, and it's awesome to see all those amazing toys behind you, man.
Oh, this is just a fraction. This is just the stuff that's directly related to my work.
Right. I've seen some videos of your collection, and just
have you? Okay.
Yeah, just when I think, okay, that's got to be it. There's more, and it's just. You can see some of the toys behind me. There's even more on the wall here next to me. I don't collect like you collect. You collect things that are meaningful. They're pop culture artifacts. They mean something to you. Where I'm not saying this stuff doesn't mean something
Krusty
to me.
The Clown means nothing to you?
Now, okay, I take that back. That one does mean something to me.
That's what I thought. Okay.
And so do these turtles over here, but a good majority of it is just a collection of impulse buys,
Well, me too. I have thousands of them.
Yeah. Well, I cannot wait to talk about your toys and your book, My Life and Toys, a book by Brian Levant. And thank you for sending me a copy of that. Damn, it's been so interesting. I can't wait to get all the way through it. But before we do, I want to touch on your career.
Well, it's only 148 pages. I don't know what you've been doing with yourself.
But before we touch on it, I want to touch on your career and, how it got started. Some of the first stuff I could find about you from a very young age is that you wanted to work in the entertainment industry, making Super 8 movies at 10 years old, submitting jokes to a Chicago children's program in third grade, and even had a TV show in high school. Could you tell me what it is that spurred your interest in the entertainment industry at such a young age?
I was very fortunate to be among the first generation to truly grow up with images being shipped directly to your home.
Right.
I'm just a little over 70 now, and when I was born, Howdy Doody was already in its fourth season.
Okay.
and Howdy Doody, a live action marionette show with continuing storylines and great music and truly memorable performers.
Right.
Was set up an entire industry to entertain the children of the baby boom. And now I was also the oldest of 5 children. So my mother had very little time to police my viewing. So basically, I fell in love with the notion of entertaining. That I recognized, I was thrilled when I learned to tell time, because then I'd know when the shows were on. This is the kind of what a fan I was, what a participant in the television experiment that I was, and so yes, I'm watching Howdy Doody. And I'm also watching, Sherry Lewis and Lamb Chop and Rough and Ready, Hanna-Barbera's first cartoon show. But at the same time, I'm watching You Bet Your Life with Groucho Marx.
Oh, wow.
I'm watching Ernie Kovacs, one of the great television comedy pioneers. I watched the Three Stooges, all 187 shorts, and the features. My God, when they were when they were rediscovered, I'll backtrack for just a minute. Just
Sure.
an interesting sidebar about the Stooges that they were washed up. They were done after whatever it was. Their 25 years at Columbia. They were finished, washed up, out the door. And Columbia sold all the 2-reelers to television, and kids discovered them anew. And they went through the roof, and suddenly they're making movies, and there's records and comic books and cartoon shows.
Yeah.
And and I really wasn't the biggest Stooges fan, but I've seen everything they've done 12 times. But you just have this constant exposure to this entertainment, and it was and I am not the only filmmaker from Chicago the tone of whose work all seems to be kind of slightly similar, and to me it seems like a melding of the anarchy comedy of the Three Stooges and Our Gang that you saw endlessly, wrapped up back to back with all this soft, warm family TV, the Leave It to Beavers, the Lassie,
Yeah.
the Fury, and when you look at my work, and you look at Robert Zemeckis, and you look at John Hughes, people are all about the same age and grew up, playing in the same high school leagues.
Right.
You see the threads of those morning and after school programs that they were fed, and this confluence of Looney Tunes, spontaneity, coupled with things with a tremendous amount of heart, and things that are usually built very well. That reflect a lot of time spent learning these
Right.
things.
I can, now that you say that, when I think about, some of the films you've directed, I can, of course, the Flintstones, it's something you grew up with, but, even like Jingle All The Way or Beethoven, that same kind of a family friendly, everyone's included kind of
Right. Yeah. Well, John Hughes wrote Beethoven.
Oh, I didn't know that. Did he really?
Yes, he did. But he lost the script in his divorce with Universal, and they gave it to Ivan Reitman to produce.
Okay.
And
Wow. I had no idea.
originally, John Hughes wanted to do Beethoven with John Candy. Uh,
What?
yes, and probably John Candy playing persnickety rather than Uncle Buck. And then they found Charles Grodin, who was incredible.
Yes, he was.
Just and a very, very talented, very funny man. Beethoven was such a fluke. I wasn't the original director. They got rid of the original director.
Wow.
He had a mental block. He'd been gored by a dog like 2 years before and had 350 stitches. And after like a week, they noticed that he never made a shot of the dog. He just couldn't do it. And so it was bye-bye. And I think I was the cheapest person they could get who was already on the lot. Seriously. And so I came in and I didn't know anyone's name. It wasn't a crew that I'd hired. They had assembled an incredible cast with Charles Grodin, Bonnie Hunt, her very first thing out of Chicago, Stanley Tucci, Oliver Platt, David Duchovny, Patricia Heaton, and the great Dean Jones, who was the star of those family-friendly Disney films of the early '60s. Flub, the Shaggy Dog,
Right.
and all those. Him and Fred McMurray. They were the warm dad of Disneyland. Anyways, and so I walked in and just had a great time. And working with Ivan, who was so talented and smart about comedy, and he had a great team, tremendously talented people. And when you get into a situation like that, I was able to do probably the best work of my career, certainly considering there was no prep. I mean, I read the script on Wednesday. I met with Ivan on Thursday, Grodin on Friday, shooting on Monday.
Wow.
And just, we just did it. And, and Ivan said to me in his always sweet manner, if something doesn't work, fix it. And so,
solid advice.
We took that to heart, and great stretches of the film are completely made up on the spot. But you can't do that unless you have very talented actors and people. Bonnie Hunt, is a Second City person. So
Right.
it's the easiest thing in the world for her to switch gears and try something different.
Incredible. That movie was a staple in our household when we were young. I love that film. It turned out so damn well.
Yeah, no, I'm very, very, very proud of it. And the fact that it changed the video industry. Beethoven was the first film that did not gross $100 million that was for sale as a sell-through, meaning at an affordable price, not one of those $93 VHS tapes they used to have
Right.
available. And it really did widen and increase the market in the long run, but it just was kind of like the poster boy for 58 million domestic, but almost twice that overseas, by the way, when there were a lot less theaters and countries showing these things, which always pleased me when most of my films did better overseas than domestically. And yes, and my litmus test for my films is, if you're in the theater and the sound went out, could you follow it? And that's really kind of my goal, is to tell the story visually, and you should understand it from what you see, and I think that contributes a lot to it being translating well with audiences, especially family audiences overseas.
So, are you saying that Beethoven was one of the first, if not the first, like affordable VHS sales that was out there? That's when the price of those started to drop?
That was not a film that grossed over $100 million. Yes.
Wow. That's crazy.
So that's what, 1992.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I bought my first Betamax in what year? In 78.
Wow. And movies were crazy expensive to own at home. I remember being very
well, because who would you rather? You rather wait for Joe Schmo to walk into Walmart and buy a copy? Are you going to sell 2 million copies to Blockbuster? that
Yeah.
they're going to fan out all over the country, and you get your money up front, right? Cash on the barrel.
Wow.
You know, think about movies. You know, they've been waiting years to get that kind of recoupment on
Right.
properties, and now they can get it all at once.
Man, that's crazy how quickly the industry can change. I mean, we've seen it change so many times within the past 40 years, but damn, that was a huge one. That was huge.
Yes, and now look, what is it? One blockbuster and none left
Yeah.
in the country, and there's a million streamers, and I don't know. Will they be winnowed out like all the car companies were by the 1920s? I mean, is Paramount Plus the next Duesenberg?
Right. So before Beethoven, you were writing on television shows that are iconic. Happy Days, Mork and Mindy, the Jeffersons, Still the Beaver. Can you talk about how that came to you, how you started writing on these TV shows, and in the moment making any of these shows, were any of you aware, like the impact they would have on pop culture?
Oh, obviously, when I was in kindergarten, watching the premiere of Leave It to Beaver, that I couldn't have imagined that what was it? 26 years later or something, I would be at the creative helm of the show. You just can't, watching the premiere of the Flintstones in 19, you can't know, but your appreciation for these things lays a foundation for them happening. But as I said, as you said, I was training to be a filmmaker. I was studying structure. I was studying character. I mean, when I was in college, I don't know how many Saturday nights I ever went out on. At one point, the Saturday night lineup, and this is pre-taping, mind you.
Right.
If any of your audience can remember that far back, the Saturday night lineup on CBS was All in the Family, MASH, Mary Tyler Moore, Bob Newhart, and Carol Burnett. Now, if that isn't a clinic in comedy,
Right,
brought into your living room every week, I don't know what is. I mean, that was just seriously, that's the Mount Rushmore,
right.
70s comedy, and there it was all until they split it up. They got smart, put MASH on Mondays and stuff.
Spread the audience out throughout the week.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, it was like the 27 Yankees, and how do you not learn from watching Jim Brooks and Bob Newhart,
Sure.
and Harvey Korman, who I was lucky and Lyle Wagner, who I worked with over the years.
Wow.
You've
worked with some incredible people.
I've been very fortunate. But getting back to starting in TV, when I finished school, I stayed behind a semester, wrote a spec script. My then girlfriend, now wife, I've been together like 49 years or something now, moved to LA, and within a few months, I had actually started to make sales to the National Lampoon, to a Danny Thomas series that didn't run very long, called The Practice. We played an old Brooklyn physician whose son was a fancy Park Avenue doctor.
Right.
It was actually a pretty good show, and it was created. I can't remember his name right now. It's a guy who wrote Arthur, and who was a major talent, truly blooming in the industry. And I think he died of leukemia very young. But he bought my first story, and then he left to do a movie. And they never made the show. But then I sold stories to Chico and the Man. I sold stories to the Jeffersons. I was pretty ballsy at 22. I got to tell you, I wrote a spec Jeffersons. I sent it over there, and I hadn't heard anything in about 8 weeks. Right, so I just called up and I asked to speak to the one of the executive producers. I can't remember which one I asked for. It wasn't the English guy. I know that. I knew he was mean. Nickel, Ross, and West. Bernie Ross was the nice guy. That's what I asked for, is Bernie Ross. And Bernie Ross gets on the phone and says, "Hi, I wrote a spec. I just wondered if anyone there took a look at it." And I hear him cup his hand over the phone. And he goes, "Anyone read a spec script? No. What should I do? Give him a story meeting." and so they gave me a story meeting, and I sold them the first story that I pitched.
Wow.
And then a few months later, I was taken to Gary Marshall's house to play basketball on a Saturday morning. And
Seriously?
He had a great game for many years. Yeah, the first time I was there, literally movie stars, writers, producers, electricians, trading elbows, ex-pro athlete. The first time I was there, Elliot Gould and Jimmy Kahn were playing, and they could both ball. And Kahn was one of those guys, literally like hit you in the chest under the boards.
Right.
But I guarded Gary, despite the fact I didn't realize he was 6 inches taller than me and had played at Northwestern. But I did block a couple of his shots. And after this, what do you do? And I told him that I was already in the Writers Guild and trying to be a comedy writer, and that I'd known his name since I was 12 years old.
Right.
As a story editor on the Dick Van Dyke Show. And watched his other series, which at the time included Happy Days, which was in its third season already, and going into its fourth, which would be the first season where they ended the season as a #1 show. So I came in, I didn't know how many stories you were supposed to bring. The rule of thumb is 5 or 6. I brought a season in, and they bought the first one of a very simple pitch. There's a new sheriff in town, and he wants to get rid of all the hoods in Milwaukee, including Fonzie. And that became AKA the Fonz. And I did a terrible job, really. And they cut me off. And Gary Marshall, when apprised that I turned in a sucky script, asked to read it. He read it. He thought I had good ideas, but needed seasoning. And the week that they produced that show, they brought me in to work with the writers and sit and keep my mouth shut, I was told, even though I got a couple jokes in. And I was able to absorb the difference between being an aspiring filmmaker, a student filmmaker, what the difference was between where I was and what I needed to become to be a professional.
Sure.
And it was, not just for me. I mean, Gary Marshall ran an amazing training ground. And if you look at all the people involved in his series over the years and the dozens of major television shows and films that have come out of the people in that organization, it's actually quite impressive. And I'm proud to have been one of them. So the next year they brought me back, and I again sold them the first idea that I pitched. And this time when I turned it in, they called me back 2 hours later and offered me a staff job.
Nice.
And I was there, and certainly at Paramount with Happy Days on and off for the next 8 years. When I say it in the book, I say when I went up the 29 stairs at K Building, I was still 23 years old, and had one family. And when I came down for the last time, I was almost 32, and I had 2 families. The second being my Happy Days family, and we're still all very close. And I spoken to all of them in the last couple of months, and spent hours over at Henry's house, and just loving to watch Henry on Barry. It's just so great to see how he's evolved from being one of the biggest stars on the planet to just simply one of the best goddamn actors on
Sure.
the planet.
And it's amazing to me too that not that I feel like he should have been, but it's amazing, that he wasn't typecast as the Fonz, that he was able to still keep getting all these different roles.
Yes, but when the series first ended, there was a problem for a while. He knew it, and he put his energy into producing for a while there, and then things did happen. Did almost 40 episodes, I think, of Arrested Development is
right.
Barry Zuckerhorn, the blues incompetent attorney, and finally he was replaced by Scott Baio. And Ron was the narrator of the show. So it was very happy days. So, and he also got an Emmy nomination for a trio of episodes he did on what was that David Kelly show that Bill Shatner went on at the end, and Candace Bergen. What was the name of it? I can't even remember. There's so many of them. So many lost. James Spader, that one. What the heck is that?
I don't know. I don't know.
Oh well. But and Happy Days was a place you learned your craft.
Sure.
And the system that we worked under was basically a combination of the systems that were instituted on the Sid Caesar show, Your Show of Shows, which had the most brilliant writing staff in the history of the earth. If you look back at the people who wrote for that show, Woody Allen, Mel Brooks,
wow.
Mel Tolkien, who was the executive producer of All in the Family for 13 years, Neil Simon, his brother Danny, who are also the basis of Neil's play The Odd Couple. You had Louise Calhern, a rare female in the comedy industry in those days, who was the basis for the Rose Marie character on the Dick Van Dyke Show. And then to wrap it up, you had Larry Gelbart, the creator of MASH and writer of plays like Sly Fox. And a funny thing happened on the way to the forum.
Right. My mind keeps jumping back to something you said at the top of that is you couldn't believe how forward you were in your early 20s, picking up the phone and calling these people. And, it's funny because over the past 10 years, I've talked to so many people in the industry like yourself. And though everyone's story is different, each story is like a fingerprint, but a lot of the same thing I hear is, I can't believe I had the balls to make that move. Fortune favors the bold.
Yeah. Well, I have been teaching for the past 6 years at both the University of Arizona and the University of New Mexico. I just gave up New Mexico, simplify things a little bit. But, I teach a class where I take a dozen kids, and in 40 hours of class time, and certainly they spend a lot of time outside of class writing, but we create, develop, write, rewrite, and rewrite an original half-hour pilot, and then do a staged reading with local and professional student and pro performers for an audience. And I can tell you on day 3, who are the people who have the confidence and the personality to get ahead, to figure out a way to get themselves to the head of the line, who are gonna climb over your back to get to the top of the ladder. Tenacity is important. A thick skin, something I never quite mastered, is a very important trait. And what do they think? Saying basketball, think like a goldfish, forget it. Right. After 10 seconds, you can't worry about it. I'm not that person. But yeah, I believed that I had the ability to compete. And once again, you could have fallen in with a completely different kind of group of people or none at all. Instead, I fell in with an organization that was built on passing on this knowledge that Carl Reiner acquired, working on your shows, melding with Sheldon Leonard and Danny Thomas's, the formula that they developed doing Make Room for Daddy. And also, don't forget that Sheldon Leonard and Danny Thomas also owned the Andy Griffith Show as well. So,
Sure.
Which ran about the same, well, actually much longer than the Van Dyke Show. And so, you know, these guys, they were trained in an empire. Gary Marshall, Jerry Paris, who directed like all but 18 of the 255 Happy Days, who, you know, directed Van Dyke and was played the neighbor, Jerry Halper, you know. And so, you know, that they were generous with their knowledge in every way possible. And you know, and it extended beyond the stage doors. And, you know, they were people who there's a couple paths you can take in Hollywood. And these guys were very family oriented and created a esprit de corps that was more like a family picnic than a workplace. Sure. And it carried over into everything that we all did together. And you know, you continue to pass on that knowledge to those you work with, or as I do with my students today.
Yeah. What an incredible environment for learning. That's just crazy. All right, let's jump over to the Flintstone movie.
Whoa.
You looked a little startled there for a second.
No, I did not know that it was like last week or something that it was the 29th anniversary.
Was it really?
Of the debut? Yes. I saw this on Instagram. I said, someone tagged me in a post. And I go, what? That was the 25th anniversary. The American Cinematheque did a lovely Sunday matinee. We had myself and Bill Sandell, the production designer, Dean Cundy, producers, a lot of people who worked on the film, our editors and everyone. We had a great screening. Many of the 33 writers who contributed to the script, and we had a great day. I said, "That's 4 years ago," but actually, we're doing a screening in Los Angeles on June 12th at the historic Formosa Cafe.
I just saw that on Instagram.
Yes, happy to do it. I've never been to the Formosa. I always used to work at the studio, the old Goldwyn studio by there, and I always wanted to go there. But you know, you're sitting there, you're on a dubbing stage till 2 a.m, and you go, "Nah, I don't really feel like getting Chinese now." But happy about that, and you know, and it's made me, luckily for you, think about, well, what the hell am I going to say that I haven't said 50,000 times?
Right.
About the Flintstones and that experience, which like Happy Days was walking into you know, the 27 Yankees locker room with Spielberg and Kathy Kennedy and director of photography Dean Cundy and all the infrastructure of Amblin up and down the line, the best, and Steven's crew, Michael Lantieri, who the year before had won the Oscar for Jurassic Park for the physical effects, and working with ILM, who the year before had developed the technology that really allowed us to do Dino and 75-foot brontosauruses, and also the fact that what distinguishes the Flintstones today, I believe, is that you would never make the movie the same way today. We built over 6,000 costumes, props,
that's incredible,
sets, automobiles, everything, literally the kitchen sink.
Because there's
And
nothing modern. I mean, they're modern items, but made to look like they're made of rock. So absolutely everything you see had to be.
that's right. And today, I was watching a little bit of the new Ant-Man movie, and I'm thinking to myself, the whole movie's a blue screen.
Yeah.
There's nothing real. There's not a real character in here. I'm just surprised they didn't paint out Michael Douglas's hearing aid. But we literally built it, and I'm so sorry that Universal didn't have, especially with Viva Rock Vegas, where we in the quarry 5 miles north of Universal on the 5, believe it or not, everything in the Flintstones, with the exception of 3-second unit shots, was shot in the zone, the 30-mile radius between Hollywood, between Sunset and Vine, and around the whole movie.
It's an impressive set. I saw a video of it being built online. It's incredible.
Yeah. Oh, well, we built in the quarry. We built in the overflow parking lot at Vasquez Rocks State Park, which you've seen in Star Trek and a million Westerns, these giant Teutonic plates that grow vertically out of the ground. And it's the most dynamic background you could ever. We've shot days out there, built the whole Flintstones neighborhood there. We built a half a mile. But anyways, having done that and seen that and knowing that we were going to build Rock Vegas, why not build it so it could have been moved to the back lot and, I'm sorry to say this, replace Spartacus Square? Because you ask any 10-year-old on the tour, what was the best picture of 1957? Oh, they're going to know it's Spartacus. But they didn't. And I will say that they held on to all the props and cars for a long time before they finally said, we're not doing any more of this.
So I know you've probably got asked this a million times. Did you get to keep any of the props from that film?
I have a few of the maquettes from the Jim Henson Creature Shop.
Okay.
The first film was done by the Creature Shop. Steven really wanted me to use the team they'd used for Jurassic Park.
Yeah, seems like a great idea too.
Except for one thing. There wasn't a drop of whimsy, to me, in these people. They were brilliant puppeteers and builders. There wasn't any joy inherent in any of their work. And when I look at everything, the Henson Creature Shop and just Jim Henson Productions, it had warmth, it had a gentleness, it had a friendliness that I thought was the most important thing in creating this harmonious world where man and animal live in service of one another. And I didn't think that they were capable of doing warm dinosaurs. I'm sure, we could have gone around and around for weeks and weeks and weeks on this, and they might have gotten close. I don't think that they could have ever accomplished what the Hensons did with their first efforts. Their work had a warmth, and the people who worked there had a tremendous warmth. And there was the most creative place I've ever spent time in my life. It's just an utter joy, and it's just like, literally like 19th century old factory on a river in Camden on Oval Road, and it's freezing in there, and it's freezing there in the summer. It's freezing. It's just cold in there, man. And there were just hundreds of these smiling, talented, goddamn people everywhere you looked.
Sure.
Doing amazing things. And what we did was ridiculous. We built, when you saw a Brontosaurus head to toe in a wide shot, that was a CGI shot. There's only 53 CGI shots in the entire film. The rest of it is animatronic. So most of the time, we built a 28-foot long Brontosaurus neck face, grab things, open his mouth, do all that stuff, which was based with a also an animatronic tail that swung back and forth, and we had the hump where Fred is sitting, in his, whatever you call it, under the roof there of his Bronto crane, and so that we could shoot that from various angles and not reveal what it was. And in order to move this, there were 12 puppeteers, and it was so big that we had to install railroad tracks for it to move on.
Wow.
And then so you go from that scale to the 6-inch bottle opener and the Coke machine, which I voiced, trying to imitate an old Hanna-Barbera voice. This job sucks.
And
you
that
see
was
the
great,
range,
by the way.
And even to do Baby Puss, the Flintstones saber-toothed tiger, who you always just see briefly in the cartoon and briefly in the movie. They had to develop for the first time to make fur. They were good at dinosaur skin and the Terminator stuff. The T2, kind of effects, but they'd never done fur, so they had to invent that entire process just to do this. So the entire undertaking was creative on every end to create this world, and certainly there were a lot of hands in that, but everything did kind of run through me, and it was up to me to find the balance in everything we did between real and cartoony.
Sure.
And
by keeping the feel of the original cartoon.
And then so everything, I think the greatest achievement of the world is that it does seem like a world.
Yeah.
And it seems very complete to the eye and in tone and texture.
Sure.
And that really was the goal, because if you look at the Flintstones on a scale of comedy, you're going to say, well, the Flintstones, it wasn't the funniest. It was always well intended, you love the characters and stuff.
Oh yeah.
But this wasn't Barney Miller. This wasn't Soap. This wasn't even My Favorite Martian.
Right.
And so, but what delighted was the world.
Absolutely.
And the relationships between the people. And that I believe was probably the toughest thing to capture. And I think that's where we were most successful.
I would have to agree.
And I look back at that cast and getting Elizabeth Taylor to do a small part, and to get Jonathan Winters to do a small part, and Jay Leno to do a small part, and Sam Raimi to do a small part.
How incredible.
Everybody was just so great, and Steven's team was so top rate.
Right.
Once again, you go from working with, in your own shop in TV to upping your game a tremendous amount, working alongside Ivan Reitman and his people, and then to get on an extension ladder, to work with the whole Amblin universe. Right. And I did 4 projects over there. The 2 Flintstone movies, one that didn't go, very unfortunate. I missed that one, but I just a couple weeks before production started on Casper, Steven came to me and asked me to do what I'd done with the Flintstones and bring in a group of comedy writers and redo the script for Casper weeks before they went into production. And we basically, they had a lot of good ideas. They just didn't know how to get from one to the next. And we really tied that story together and made it flow, and tried to negate the audience from realizing that Casper is really the story of a dead little boy. But
yeah.
yeah, and another project that I did for Amblin, after the Prince's Trust, then Prince Charles, now King Charles, hosted the London premiere of the Flintstones, and then from there, because my family, I hadn't seen them in nearly 2 years of working on the Flintstones, we flew to an island in the Caribbean. And when we walked in the door, the phone was ringing, and it's Spielberg saying, "I'm sending the Warner Brothers jet for you."
What?
They were on day 54 of 52 of a film called Little Giants, a kind of the football version of the Bad News Bears.
I remember that.
This was like, I think July 28th, something like that. The movie was coming out on October 8th, and it had a national preview the week before. So 8 weeks to when I got to the set, I discovered that they'd only shot maybe 30 pages of this script. and so once again, not knowing anybody's name,
right?
Just went in and played football, and had a great time, and you know, and I really didn't have to worry about the fact that there were 6 editors in Burbank working 18-hour shifts, sleeping on cots in the editing room.
Man, what an incredible job to have, though. How much fun that would be.
Well, it was because, like Beethoven, you were relying on your instincts, and I love working with kids. You know, the old joke is, stay away from kids and dogs. That's been my career. When you think about it,
yeah.
And these things, they just seem very natural to me, to do a family comedy, to do a kids sports movie. I produced the Bad News Bears TV show, for God's sakes, with Jack Warden and young Corey Feldman and Christoph St. John and Nino Palouse, whose sister became Punky Brewster.
Is that right?
Marcus from Mary Hartman. Yeah. No, we had great kids, and it was a great job. Ron Levitt, who would go on to create Married with Children, based on his own life. We had a great time. You know, it was we had sold a pilot the year before. Well, we wrote it. We didn't own it. We didn't create it. We were asked to fix it, and we fixed it, and it made it, and it ended up premiering after the Super Bowl. What year is it? I don't know. 1980, 81, something like that. And it was a horrible experience. and so when that ended, we were asked to go over to Bears, which was like a dream come true, and you talk about learning that in those days, there weren't young single camera directors. They were all old veterans. I was working with Bill Asher, who directed half of the I Love Lucy episodes and was married to, produced, and directed Bewitched.
Oh, really?
Yes. And so
love that show. Everything
I learned about directing kids came from Bill Asher. He was a genius at it. And I worked for years with Bob Claver, who was not only the original director of Captain Kangaroo, another early influence, but was the executive producer and director of The Partridge Family.
Really?
Yes.
That was a good show, too. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, so you work side by side with these real pros, and you see what makes them successful, how they earn the crew's respect, how they earn the cast respect, how they conduct themselves, and then how they get the most out of a line, or someone like Jerry Paris, who never failed to bring a scene to a boil. That was his gift, that he wasn't satisfied with just normal energy or low key energy. I mean, he wanted everything running. Yeah. He wanted performances at 11.
Sure.
and was successful in coaxing them out of people.
I've got to jump back really quick to the Flintstones. In your book,
Yes.
My Life in Toys, you talk about, I believe, what is the night of the premiere, where after the film has shown, you have Bill Hanna and Joe Barbera watching, and when the lights come up, this is you, and I quote what you say in the book: "When the lights came on, there were tears in their eyes. Though they were well into their 80s, they leapt to their feet and threw their arms around me like a son returned from war. In a way, I was their child. After all, we were practically raised by them." What an incredible feeling. Growing up with this show, having it inspired you, and then Bill and Joe, tears in their eyes, hugging you. Can you elaborate a bit on that moment?
Yeah, no, Amblin wanted to keep them at arm's distance about the script. They didn't want their take on it, really, and so they weren't involved in the production until we were well into the building phase. And so there was David Kirshner had a camera crew there for this, and no one knows what happened to the footage. I'd love to get this footage, because here's what happens. They arrive at Amblin. Their separate drivers bring them there. We're partners. They didn't spend a lot of time together. And I picked them up in Barney's car. That was the first car that was finished.
Oh,
the
wow.
double pencil, and it had a back seat so we could get them both in. And I picked them up at Amblin and drove them across the lot to stages 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22 that we had. So that 5, 10, over 100,000 square feet were devoted to construction of the Flintstones house and the offices and the cars and wardrobe departments, and every single object built out of wire and wood, foamed, carved, hard-coated, and painted. And before we walked into the door of stage 17, I noticed how quiet they were, and I really, really got the feeling that they expected to be disappointed. And
I see.
Once they walked in and they saw the scale of everything was enormous, right?
Right.
You know how big the ribs are on the side of the car. So that's the scale we were working from on this movie. And they saw the fidelity to their vision carried out. And they'd never had that experience. This is well before the Scooby-Doo movies and the rest of it. They'd never had a live action Hanna-Barbera. Excuse me, there was a Banana Splits.
What? Not the same, but
no, not the same. And pretty soon they were smiling and they were giving each other these old couple looks, And I always quote this because it's the only one I remember, and I was so nervous and so wanted it to go well. And we got to the Flintstones bathroom, and I said, "Here's their bathroom." And Bill Hanna points to the toilet and goes, "There's no toilet paper." and I said to Russell Bobbitt, our property master, "Russell, why don't you go get a roll of birch bark for Mr. Hanna?" And we walked back out into the sunlight, and Joe Barbera, who was the coolest 85-year-old man I'd ever seen in my life, he really was. I mean, he was. When you think of Rat Pack kind of people, that's Joe. I mean, stylish dresser, dyeing his hair, walking perfect. Bill Hanna was getting to be a bit of an older man at that point.
Right.
But, you know, animators live forever anyways. Anyway, because why? Because they love what they do.
Right.
Mind you. Anyways, so we walk out into the sunshine, and Joe shakes his head, said, "Never in my life did I ever expect to see anything like that." And and I told him we were just getting started, and they had such a good time being in the film and wearing Flintstone clothes.
Of course.
And, you know, and we had Joe just a very small bit where we had a car we built called the Maserati, a two-seater, and Joe drove up to the club, you know, tossed the keys to the valet, and had some hot girl on his arm walking in. He loved that. And a few weeks later, he sent me a cell of Fred Flintstone driving the Maserati.
Oh, really?
Yes, and a bedrock cop on a hill, you know, timing him.
That's cool. I bet that's probably framed in your collection somewhere there, right?
It just off stage here.
Yeah. What a cool souvenir to have. What an amazing story, man.
Yeah,
what
no,
validation that must have been.
You know, these were people that I wanted to love because I loved what they did, and they never really. I mean, they did a lot of stuff, and they did a lot of stuff that was below the Mendoza line, as we say in baseball. But they never abandoned the core mission, which was to entertain and to do, for the most part, their work was so influenced by silent comedy. When you look at Tom and Jerry and Yogi Bear and Pixie and Dixie, life was like for Chaplin about finding your next meal and surviving. And that's what drove that. And all the wacky chases and stuff really harkens back to the Keystone Cops and Huckleberry Hound's Dry with the hat was really lifted all from Buster Keaton and the Great Stone Face. And the Flintstones is really, they insisted when I nailed it, I said, "Come on, tell me the truth. It's based on the Honeymooners, right?" No.
Really?
No. Laurel and Hardy. They say Laurel and Hardy.
Oh, okay.
They say Laurel and Hardy. The cast said Honeymooners. But the Flintstones is very much influenced by Buster Keaton's, what was that, 1924-25 film, The Three Ages, which it was a parody of Intolerance, D.W. Griffith's time-traveling story.
Okay.
About sin. And Buster Keaton was about a guy who couldn't get a girl in ancient Rome in prehistoric times and in contemporary times, or Civil War or something like that. And so, but he was riding on dinosaurs. He was wearing a skin. He was carrying a club. There's an amazing piece in it, and I believe it took 58 takes, where the caveman who stole his woman dragged her off by her hair, literally. Throws a rock, you know, like this big, at Buster Keaton's head. Buster Keaton takes the club, hits the guy in the forehead, and he goes down. But they did stop motion stuff, very early stop motion stuff. They'd cut from Buster Keaton, bouncing up and down in a close up and go wide, and they'd do a figure on top of a brontosaurus walking through frame.
It's incredible.
And that's really where the Flintstones came from. And the Jetsons, as inventive as it was the Flintstones was inspired, and the Jetsons was inspired by the Flintstones' success.
Right. Let's see the opposite end of the spectrum.
In the book, I say, the Jetsons has been around since 1962 now. So there's 61 years of the Jetsons, right? And they were canceled after 1 year. and my new explanation.
Seriously, was that right?
Oh, yes. They made another season for syndication in the 80s. in the early 80s with the original cast, mind you, is still old enough. Still around. Janet Waldo is playing Elroy. She's 94.
Right.
but I say in the book that they were pretty good at prognosticating. You had boy bands spending your day pressing buttons in front of a giant flat screen and zooming, right? All the Roombas that served coffee, except for the flying cars, they really did kind of nail us. And in a world, where there was nothing but instant photography and instant rice. and every instant tang, that maybe we saw the future and didn't like what we were going to become.
It's an interesting way of thinking about it, isn't it? But you're right. You're absolutely right. There's a few things that we're still waiting on from the Jetsons, I think. But
health insurance, yes.
Now, another thing you mentioned in your book is that right after the Flintstones, you were getting a lot of project offers, and a lot of different scripts came across your desk that you didn't like or just weren't speaking to you, until there was one that came across about a hit toy that everybody had to have Christmas season, Jingle All the Way and Turbo Man. And, not only did you get to direct that, but you oversaw the creation of Turbo Man himself.
Well, why else would I do the movie if I didn't get to design the hottest selling toy in America?
How freaking cool for a toy collector, though.
And when you say it spoke to me, it spoke to that shelf up there with nothing. I have to move everything to a bigger spot now because literally, Turbo Man, it's been amazing. For a movie that was a failure. It hurt me. It hurt Arnold. It hurt everybody involved. It really did, because it was supposed to be a giant hit, and it was, did 3 million more than Beethoven, and a lot less overseas. But so it really did. It was hard to love it for a long time. I loved making the movie. I thought we had a great time. We had a very good team. It's almost like Chris Columbus and Mark Radcliffe, his producers. They were suspicious because we would finish our days on time and we were having fun, and that's not the way they were used to operate.
People are too happy here.
Yeah. And Arnold was on a portal to portal 12-hour deal, meaning they pick you up in the morning, right?
Okay.
And you have to come in wherever you're reporting to. You're going to go through hair and makeup, wardrobe. You're going to rehearse. We're going to light. We're going to shoot. And we're going to have lunch, and then he's got to be out of makeup, out of wardrobe, in the car, and back to where we picked him up within 12 hours. So wow. You really had to finish your days. Right. Otherwise, you would have been in big trouble. But you see, that's another thing that people were always kind of suspicious of me because I do things on schedule and budget. And they always anticipate that they think you're more artistic if you flout convention and say, no, I want this to be perfect, I'm going to shoot an extra week. Right. They kind of expect that more than hey guys, I guess we wrapped early again today. Let's just finish up. The irony of Jingle All the Way is that original Turbo Man figures, mint in the box, are available now for $800 when, as a Walmart exclusive, they did not fly off the shelves. that the Funko reissue of the 14-inch Tiger Toys Turbo Man with
Yeah.
8 different sayings, including "It's Turbo Time," was the hottest selling toy in America.
Oh,
But
yeah.
a quarter of a century later, so everything that we dreamed of happened. Just not and it has become embedded in people's lives. And I
Oh,
first
yeah.
started noticing it years ago when people would bring me these worn out VHS tapes to sign saying, "My family, we watch this every Christmas."
Yeah. I've got a copy of it on DVD, and it's one of the Christmas movies that gets brought out every season. It's become a classic.
I hope, thank you, but I hope you have the Family Fun Edition, which is the director's cut that they didn't want to call the director's cut, which adds to several scenes and ties the post-credit scene to the body of the film, where it's much more effective.
No, I don't think I do. I don't think I've seen that.
Still available on Amazon for like $9.99.
Hey.
But on the Blu-ray, you can get both versions, actually.
Okay. I'll have to keep an eye out for that, because I definitely want to see that. I want to see that. And it, to find, because I saw Turbo Man on the shelf myself, and I was beside myself. I was texting my friends who are also toy collectors. I believe we even mentioned it on the show. How incredible, 25 years later. I imagine there's at least 2 or 3 of them in your house somewhere.
I have two original, and I have the original molds. I have, a full set of the original figures, although there were ones that we built for the commercial that were, what do you call it? Where they moved, the
Sure.
arms and legs and everything, the head moved. But the ones I have were just for display purposes.
I see.
And that's the mold I have as well. But I gave, if anyone wants a Turbo Man figure, an original Turbo Man figure from the original plans, at Rumor, Rumour, Skywalker, on Instagram, a lovely young Japanese kid by the name of Kasai. He belongs to, and you can join a club where you can get an exact duplicate scanned from my figures.
Seriously.
Yes, and also he also has Dementor, Booster, and coming soon a life-size bust of Arnold in the suit.
Life size. Wow.
Yes.
I can't imagine that's cheap.
No, but it's a lot cheaper than an original Turbo Man.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. I'm gonna have to look into that.
The work is sensational. And, they also scanned my original box and recreate that perfectly.
Yeah. When I was a kid, it's so funny. The design of that figure is so perfect, and the way the movie, presented it, because I had never heard of a Turbo Man. I didn't know who the hell Turbo Man was. But when I was a kid, man, I wanted one badly. And, just a testament to the design.
Well, here's what I have to say about it. We spent a tremendous amount of time trying to do a slick version of Commando Cody, had the rocket pack and bullet shaped helmet.
Yeah.
And at one point we actually tested a jetpack which would actually produce its own flames before we realized putting a bomb on the back of the future governor of California's back was a bad idea. We tested that seriously.
I believe you.
And we CGI'd the flames, and it's a good thing. But we were so intent on getting a completely original superhero suit, and every time we turned around, no, that's Green Lantern. No, that's Dr. Fate. Oh, yeah. No, that's Dr. Midnight. And finally, we were so happy with it, and then when I saw it all on the shelves for the first time, the set dressing, all of them together, I said, shit, it looks a lot like Iron Man, doesn't it?
Maybe some colors, but, it still stands on its own pretty damn well.
Yes, no. Turbo Man, I have the original parade figure in my office in the other side, and
Wow.
it's in a beautiful plexiglass box. And I have to confess that for over 20 years, it sat in a case on a shelf in my garage. I didn't want to see it. I didn't.
Well,
I
and I
didn't want to be
understand why.
reminded.
I
And
understand.
well, that's just it. It's changed. People like you, people who love the film,
Mhm.
and there seems to be a huge swath of people who really do, and that's so redeeming. And where were you in '96? But it has been wonderful, and it changed my appreciation of the film, and thus putting Turbo Man where I can sit and look at him all day.
Sure. And people can also take a look at your figures in the book we've also been
Oh
talking
yeah,
about
well,
this whole time, My Life in Toys.
I was very fortunate that my sister married a very talented commercial photographer who's shot, for instance, virtually every Subway sandwich you've seen on a billboard, a magazine ad in store,
Oh,
and the windows
really?
behind the counter for the past 16 years, and does nothing but shoot sweaty Coke bottles and bowls of cereal and pizza and stuff. And it took 9 years, but
Wow.
he took over 7,000 photographs, of which there's over 1,100 in the film, and in the book.
In the book.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. It seems like it's an epic, and no matter how it's a coffee table book the size of a coffee table. It's almost 8 pounds, and it's a labor of love, and I wanted audiences to feel what I feel
Yeah.
for the characters and toys that mean something to me. And there's a whole Jingle chapter
Yeah.
with all the Jingle merchandise and a lot of fan art that people have been so kind to contribute to the book. And in the Flintstones, there are 60 pages
Right.
of Flintstones, for instance, in the book, and chapters on Howdy Doody and sci-fi and silent comedians and old TV shows, westerns. It really is a sifter of all my interests and influences and how they've been expressed through my
Yeah.
collecting. And
It's
very
gorgeous. It's
excited.
absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, it was very tough to find a publisher, for one thing. I didn't want to do a 200-page book,
Right.
and I wanted to design it. I wanted to be responsible, like in a movie, for every inch of it, for every image, and to try and tell a story and create a flow. And I found the process much like editing a film. To tell you the truth, you take all these images and you try and make it flow and have one shot lead to another, and bring things to a close and move on to the next section. And
Right.
very, very exciting. And at this point in my life, it was great to have a new experience. That as we said today, I've been doing basically the same things in many different forms for for like 5-6 decades, working in the 70s, 80s, 90s,
Right.
2000 to the holy cow,
Sure.
that's a long career. So to do something new and exciting really was different, and I enjoy it. And there's more books coming, and I wish I could even tell you the next one that we haven't signed the contract, and I've learned over the years you don't say anything until that. But we can come
Right.
back and talk about it, and there's another one on deck behind that, so there'll be more. But please don't let that stop you from enjoying My Life in Toys from G Edition, now with a new low price on Amazon.
Yeah, and you won't regret it. It's a gorgeous book. These aren't just simply quick pictures of your toys. They're art. And to have the stories, why they all mean so much to you, why they're in your life, how you are entangled with them, they're entangled with you. Anytime anyone's ever asked me about any of my toys, it's never just oh, I bought that here. I just immediately launch into why I have it, why I love it, where it came from. So this book really spoke to that toy collector side of me. Like, it was hard. I could relate. I could very much relate.
There's two kinds of people though. I found people who walk into our house, and if the first thing they say is, how do you keep all this shit clean? They don't get it.
No, they don't. So, but what was it that initially made you say, because you've been collecting this stuff for years. I mean, what year, how old were you when you started this collection?
Well, I mean, I always, it's not like I did collect comics. My mom threw them out at some point. I could still kill it when I see what the Superman #1 annual goes for. I just saw one today, like $8,000. I had that. It was in perfect condition, and you threw it out.
Yeah,
it's a rite of passage. Everyone has to go through that. But there were toys that I had to have, and they were very character driven, and you can actually track, the evolution from Disney, and Zorro to Davy Crockett to the Flintstones and beyond. It's so ironic that I did these Scooby-Doo movies, because by the time Scooby-Doo debuted, 1969, I had a car, I had a girlfriend, I was playing in a Saturday morning basketball league.
Right.
I wasn't sitting home like I was at 12.
Right.
And actually when I had my first meeting on Scooby-Doo, I couldn't even remember Daphne's name. I had to my God, you forgot her, the redhead.
Mildred, right? Her name's Mildred, right?
Better not to say it than to say it wrong. So
correct. So then at what point, or what was it that made you think, hey, this collection I've been amassing, my entire life, I want to catalog this into a book. I want to put this book together. What was the inspiration that, put that idea in your head?
Well, the fact that, you kind of realize that it's unsustainable at some point. And I wanted to chronicle it, and not so much chronicle it, the collecting as how it intertwined with my work, and my life for that matter, and how they influenced each other. And so it's really a summary of a half century of work and a half century of collecting, and how they're codependent
sure
on each other. And but I'm very lucky to have worked on things, Happy Days, the Flintstones, Beaver, things, there's huge amount of Scooby-Doo. There's huge amounts of licensing on these for decades.
Sure. I'm kind of the same way with my toys, though. Whenever we have somebody on the show, like just last week, we had Bob Bergen on, the voice of Porky the Pig. And now,
you don't say.
Yeah, there we go. But, I've got this little thing like on the back of my brain now that's saying, okay, you have to put a Porky Pig in your collection somewhere. Like every time we get someone on the show, that's meant something, like here in a month, there's going to be a Turbo Man in here. I promise you.
Right.
I'm not bullshitting you.
Well, you can certainly get a Funko Pop for a reasonable price.
But
you should have the Porky Pig, and I would recommend the Iron Porky Pig Bank.
Ooh, I'm going to write that down. Well, I don't have to write it. I'm recording it. Why would I?
That's right. Yeah, you can check it out.
So the book, does it cover your entire collection? Because your collection is so big.
No. The director's cut of the book was 610 pages, so we lost 130 pages. We tightened it up. quite a bit, and there's a lot of things that are of interest to me, but didn't translate visually. Predominantly things that are flat. I mean, there's a few comic book covers and board game things like that, but the things that really came to life more were the things with dimensionality,
Right.
And so everything was kind of skewed in that direction.
So, yeah, and I know you can't talk about them, but you talked about future books, and one of my questions was going to be, are there ever going to be more books covering what you could not include in the first one? Will we ever?
No, I don't know. I don't know. I'll take another look at it. I put together some calendar ideas with a lot of the outtakes. But, in order to do that, I'd have to make license deals with 20 different people.
Right.
And it may not be worth it. But, like I said, I've got these designs sitting there. I just got to change the year.
Sure.
And that was a way to utilize a lot of the stuff that we shot that we weren't able to include. And predominantly we had huge numbers of group shots. When I say group shots, I'm not talking about yes, there's a few shots of 6 or 8 things at a time, but I'm talking about 80 or 90 squeezed into one frame. And there was a lot of those that we weren't able to utilize. That would make a great calendar, and maybe some note cards. Huh?
Yeah. Ah, man, I'd buy it. I'd have that on my wall. Absolutely. So down the road with your collection, yes. I don't know how you think about your collection, because again, like I said at the top of this, it's not just a collection of random toys. It's you're in possession of a museum. Everything there is a pop culture artifact. It's history. So down the road, what do you see happening with your toys? Like a museum? Would they ever get them?
No, I'm not in a position where I could give it to a kids museum, because you'd have to build a wing then to house it. It's not like you can say, here, take this. Then those are the things that end up in a basement somewhere. I don't know. I may just drop this on my kids.
I've always described my toys as a burden for somebody someday. That's how you see it.
Some estate guy is going to do well.
I mean, you've got to have quite a few items in there that you probably have one of the only left in existence, I would imagine, especially some of those older, like Flintstone toys or Happy Days things.
Yeah, you never know. I'm very fond of saying that when we moved onto our street, it's a street with 13 houses, right? And at the end of the block was this guy who had a 7,500 square foot private museum over his office of his company, where he displayed every dinky toy ever made, out of the box, in the crate, with the blueprints and the forges to make the cars. He collected cars, he collected computers, he collected this, and his wife had the most gorgeous stuff you've ever seen. And they came over and looked at all my stuff, and she says, they were English. She said, "Oh, Brian, you have a lovely little collection."
Oh my God. That's jealousy right there.
So when you don't even have the best collection on your block.
No, I think you probably do have the best collection on your block.
Can't.
I just don't think they want to admit it's the best collection on the block.
No, I think no. Trust me, this guy, he collected in condition. I don't collect for condition. I collect. What you had a term, impulse buying.
Oh, yeah. I see.
You see it, you want it. They're like a lollipop. You see a lollipop, you're a kid. You'll even go to the dentist to get one, right?
Right.
So, but you see that lollipop, you got to have it, and that's the way a lot of my toys came home.
Do you have an estimated number on how many toys, how many items you have total?
It has to be 4,000 or 5,000.
Wow. Wow.
But then, like I said, there, you think you got an incredible Flintstone. You're proud of it. 60 pages that just scratched the surface of it in the book. And then there's this guy, Dave Nimitz, who introduced himself to me on Instagram. Who I can't believe what this guy has. It puts me to shame. You
Seriously.
just have no idea. Oh yes, no. There's so many people with such incredible collections. There's so many different things.
Right.
And you see what some collectibles sell for. There was an entertainment auction at Heritage Auctions. Speedy Alka-Seltzer maquette that was actually moved, for stop motion for ads, sold for like $10,000. Yeah, there was a Buffalo Bob Smith, the host of Howdy Doody. His one of his stage worn costumes, $16,000, and that was the cheap stuff in this auction.
Wow, that's incredible.
There are people who are collecting on a whole different level than I. What I think makes mine more interesting is my connection to the material and how these things have all worked together to help me become the filmmaker that I am, and to be so receptive to visuals and comedy and really having this kind of intrinsic understanding of franchises and how to exploit them, how to continue them, how to be true to them more than anything, and create them. That was these are all pretty basic lessons that you acquire by devoting yourself to these institutions and being a fan. And knowing what a fan wants to see from the Flintstones, knowing what a fan wants to see from Happy Days, knowing what a fan wants to see from Leave It to Beaver or Scooby-Doo.
Right.
And so in that way, I guess I'm kind of a fanboy with a dream job.
Absolutely. But that goes so far into making your book so unique. There are other books out there featuring toy collections. I've looked at quite a few of them, but yours stands above the rest because of that very reason. You put yourself into it. It's laced with your life, your experiences. I'm a big fan of like Happy Meal toys or cereal box toys, is like from the 80s and 90s. And whenever I've looked at those books, they're interesting. Don't get me wrong, but there's no personal touch from the person who put it together. There's no really reason or rhyme other than they were all in this box.
I admire the cereal book, the cereal books that you mentioned with the prizes. I thought those were really nice. But for the most part, Scott Bruce, I believe the author is, but most of that wasn't his collection.
Right.
He went to the people who worked, at General Mills and up in Battle Creek, Michigan. But obviously it's a good. I was just looking at it the other day, and his lunchbox book. What he was very good at was spotting trends and driving interest in things, reviving interest in lunchbox is serious collecting. And as cereal toys and boxes is a serious collection. So I give him props for that. But it isn't steeped in someone's life the same way.
But that's the charm of your book, though. That's the charm. That's what makes it stand apart from those other books. Again, I'm not talking down on those books. I love those books, but there's a lot more, I think, to be taken from My Life and Toys. Absolutely.
And you get a good workout just with taking it room to room.
It's a big book. But people can find this book on Amazon and many other places. We're going to put links to it in the notes to this episode, help direct people over that way, because our audience is comprised of toy collectors. And I'm telling you guys, you're
no, really? I wouldn't have guessed.
But Thank you, Brian, so much for taking time to sit here and talk with me tonight. This has been beyond interesting. I think
Oh,
we could probably sit and bullshit about toys for quite a
oh
bit.
well, you don't want to lose this audience you spent all these years building up. All right.
No, I doubt. I think it'd be quite the opposite. But and
Well,
I also
happy to
want
come back sometime.
absolutely let me know when those future books you were referring to are coming out. And also, I want to remind people
certainly
that
will.
Formosa Cafe, June 12th at 8 p.m. The screening and Q&A with Brian, watching the Flintstones film. How fun that would be. I wish I lived closer because my ass would be there.
Yeah, the seats are limited, so if you're interested, jump on it, folks.
Yeah. Brian, this has been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you. Enjoy.
All right, everyone. And once again, that was my conversation with Brian Levant. I really hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And I want to thank him again for taking time to be on the show. It was so awesome to talk with him. And, you know, a few years has passed. Maybe it'd be worth looking him up, see if he'd like to come back on the show and catch up. I'm going to put links in the description down below for you guys to get your own copy of My Life in Toys. Again, I can't recommend it enough, especially if you're a toy collector. So once again, I'm putting a link down in the description for you guys to get your own copy of My Life in Toys. And with all that being said, all I have to do is remind you guys to check us out on our socials, on Instagram at canned_air, and on TikTok at Canned Air Podcast. And go to cannedairpodcast.com. There's a few different ways you can support us over there. We have a merch tab where you can get shirts, mugs, hats, hoodies, all that fun stuff. And we also have a Patreon page where for $5 a month you get access to a monthly catalog that we've been building for close to 5 years now. So a lot of content over there for only $5. Come on, people. Come on. Come hang out with us. Other than that, big thanks to the Evergreen Podcast Network, who's we've also been with, I think, close to 5 years. And very proud to be with them and on the roster of all the other great podcasts they host. So big thanks to evergreenpodcast.com. I want to thank Brian Levant again for taking time to talk with me. I want to thank all of you at home for taking the time to watch. Be excellent to each other.